I want to start today with something that doesn't get talked about enough in conversations about lateral moves, not compensation, not platform, not partnership track, something that is in many ways more fundamental than any of those things: values. And specifically, what happens when the values of the institution you work for start to diverge from your own. I'm Andrew Wilcox, legal recruiter since 2003. This episode is about ethical conflicts and policy shifts. The moment when firm culture moves in a direction that no longer aligns with who you are or how you want to practice. And I want to be direct. This is not a soft concern. This is a serious professional and personal issue that deserves to be treated with the same rigor and clarity as any other career consideration. Let me start with what this actually looks like in practice. The first and most obvious version is the firm taking on clients or representations that conflict with your values in a direct way. Your firm takes on a representation in an industry you find harmful. They take on a client whose conduct you've seen covered in the news and whose ethics you question. They take on work. They take on work on the opposite side of an issue you care deeply about. You didn't have a choice in that decision, but now you're part of the institution that made it, and your name is on the letterhead. This situation is more common than most attorneys let themselves acknowledge. And the reason is simple. Saying, "This bothers me," out loud feels like the first step toward having to do something about it. So, attorneys minimize it. They tell themselves it's not their practice group. They tell themselves the work is behind a wall. They tell themselves it's just business. And sometimes those rationalizations hold, but sometimes they don't. And you know the difference. The second version is subtler: policy shifts that change how you're expected to practice, billing pressure that crosses a professional line, productivity expectations that compromise the quality of your ability to exercise genuine professional judgment, staffing decisions that require you to put attorneys on matters where they shouldn't be, a cultural drift toward business volume at the expense of the kind of careful, high quality practice that attracted you to the law in the first place. This version is harder to name because it accumulates gradually, but the effect, a growing dissonance between how you want to practice and how you're being asked to practice, is just as real. The third version is about the human environment. A firm that tolerates conduct that you would find unacceptable, leadership that dismisses concerns about workplace culture, a practice group where the treatment of associates, staff, or junior partners crosses lines that matter to you. These are legitimate professional considerations. The culture of the institution you work in affects every aspect of your professional life, and you are entitled to work somewhere that reflects your standards. Now, let me talk about how to think about this honestly. The first step is distinguishing between discomfort and genuine misalignment. Some discomfort is inherent in professional life. Representing clients you don't like is part of practicing law. Working within institutional structures that don't always prioritize your individual preferences is part of being a member of a firm. Discomfort is not the same as misalignment. You don't need to love every client your firm takes on. You do need to be able to live with it. Genuine misalignment is different. It's the sense that the institution's direction is systematically incompatible with how you want to practice. Not occasionally, not in edge cases, but as a pattern. It's the feeling that the gap is widening, not narrowing. It's the recognition that what the firm is becoming is not something you're becoming with it. The second step is being honest about what you're willing to raise and what you're willing to accept in response. Have you said anything? Have you raised the concern through whatever channel the firm provides for that kind of feedback? If not, and the barrier is not that the firm is genuinely unreceptive, but that you haven't tried, it's worth trying before you conclude the situation is unresolvable. But if you have raised it, if the concern has gone unaddressed, been minimized, or been met with pressure to just get on board, then you have the information that you need. Here's what I want to be clear about. Leaving a firm because of values conflicts is not unprofessional. It is not dramatic. It is not a failure. In many cases, it's the most professional thing an attorney can do. To recognize that an institution's direction is incompatible with their standards, to make that assessment clearly and honestly, and to find an environment where they can do their best work without compromising what they believe. The attorneys who try to endure a genuine values misalignment over years do not thrive. They produce less. They lead less. They become less of what made them good in the first place. And the clients who depend on them deserve better than that. You became a lawyer for reasons. Your practice should let you live those reasons. If it doesn't, that's not a small thing. That's a career matter. I'm Andrew Wilcox. This is the Lateral Brief. If you'd like to have a confidential discussion about your career goals and your practice, please feel free to email me at andrew@wilcox-legal.com. And as always, grateful, Andrew Wilcox.